first flight in a small airplane. Hey, so I was taking a test for my electrical certification at an airport. Yeah, it's crazy. Testing site at an airport. It's a small little airport. There's plenty enough planes though. It's probably like 20 planes, maybe more. And so I asked this receptionist, what does it take to get a license? And she told me it takes this and that, 40 hours of training. It's going to cost you about 10 grand and go ahead and try it. I scheduled a discovery flight today. I want to tell you my experience, how it feels. Is it worth it? Should you try it? My pros and cons, like what do I like about it, what I don't like about it. Is this something for me or not? Or is this something for you or not? So maybe my experience will help you decide. And was it worth it? Yes, absolutely. It's only about $110.
Is it worth it? Of course, if you never flew in a little plane with an instructor. You know, it's pretty interesting. It's awesome. It's exciting. It's kind of crazy. You should totally try it.
And I will give you some tips as to when and how to make it more comfortable.
Sweet. It's beautiful.
So my instructor actually allowed me to take the plane off the ground today. And it's not that difficult. He just told me what to do and I did that. I also controlled the airplane up in the air. I made turns left, right, down, up. And of course he landed it because that's a little bit more complicated, but it's really not that difficult. Anybody can learn it. So after flying today, I've made some conclusions for myself. At first I was considering, should I pursue a PPL, a personal pilot's license? And when I started doing some research and cranking some numbers, I realized quickly that it's not cheap. It's going to cost about $10,000 to $15,000 to get your license. Okay, there's not much you can do with a PPL. It's very limited. So you kind of need to know the rules and regulations. I want to tell you about pros and cons, the things that are positive about this experience and what I've learned about this, and things that are kind of a negative or not such a pleasant experience about flying. Just during my discovery flight and during my own research, some of the things I learned about being a pilot and maybe owning a small plane or just renting it, like what are the costs, what are the benefits, is it worth it, is it not? So here's my pros list and cons list. Okay, probably the biggest plus about being a pilot or having that license, it's just the bragging rights. You're a pilot, okay, you got a license, cool, you're so cool.
It's awesome, right? So yeah, maybe you'll get some respect and adoration because you are a pilot, all right? So bragging rights, number one. Number two,
it's a hobby, right? So it's a hobby that it's something that you really love. So you went on your first flight, you fell in love with it, and now you're just doing this as a hobby. It's an awesome hobby. You just have to invest yourself, you have to really love it, enjoy it, and if that's you, then totally go for it. It's beautiful and exciting. You get to see some new areas, landscapes. You get to see everything from above. It's kind of an awesome experience, at least at first. Then you kind of get used to it, but yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. You can take some fun trips, right? Once you know how to fly, you can take a fun trip somewhere, local, further away, to a different state, whatever, depending on the plane you have and how far you can go, how much you can handle as far as flying, how experienced you are, if you're ready for that trip. Now I want to talk to you about some cons or things that are not so pleasant about this field of being a pilot. First of all, it's the schooling, right? You got to go through the schooling and it's expensive. So the school is going to cost you about $10,000 to $15,000 to get your pilot's license. It's about the most expensive thing is to rent a plane. It's about $160 $200 to rent that plane. Then you got to pay for your instructor time. Besides that, you also need to take a like a ground school or something to get to get to know some information, about the plane, about the field, about rules and regulations. So there's a couple things you need to learn. So it's a process. It's not gonna happen in 1 month. Usually, at least it's gonna take you like 3-4 months to get your license if you're really good. Now, as far as it being a fun experience, yeah, it's a pretty awesome experience. Today I went on this flight, a discovery flight, and it was pretty cool and exciting.
But very quickly you get used to it, and it becomes kind of boring. And personally, it's not that exciting. I mean, yeah, the first time it is, but then I can see it as being kind of boring and routine, honestly. And I'm sorry if I'm offending some people.
One of my biggest discouragements as I was doing my research, I knew this was going to be an issue for me, is I don't like old things. And planes are old. Why? Because they're expensive. To get a new plane is like $400,000. So when you're going to learn how to fly, you're not going to fly a nice, beautiful looking plane. You're going to fly an old plane that's going to fly.
I just don't like antiques. It's not me. I kind of despise and hate antiques. So I really do not enjoy being in an old plane, an old car, or just anything that is old and not comfortable and not pleasant.
So that's a big minus from personal experience. I just don't like the old planes. And if you're going to learn how to fly, you have to go through that, okay? The plane itself, right, they're very small and tight. So you are in a tight cylinder. Your instructor is right next to you in your space, and hopefully he's not a big guy. And so you're going to be right there elbow to elbow with your instructor, and it is tight and may not be very pleasant or comfortable for you.
So just being in the plane today and sitting there, you kind of realize quickly that you cannot fly for a long time. I mean, maybe an hour, and then your back's going to start hurting, and it is just not a comfortable experience. It's kind of like a job. It's like, it's beautiful to see nice places and all that, but then it's kind of it takes a toll on your body. You can't do it for a long time.
And honestly, I don't think it's practical for your trips. So where are you going to go? If you're paying $200 an hour, where are you going to go? How much time are you going to spend there? Right? So you're going to spend 3 hours in the air. I mean, maybe half hour in the air. You're going to land. You're going to go for a dinner. Get back in the plane, fly back. It's going to be 3 hours. There's your $600. Is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe. Another thing about being uncomfortable is the headset. You got to put this headset on, because otherwise you can't hear your instructor or you can't talk on the radio. You have to have a headset on. And it's pretty loud in general.
And so just that feeling of wearing something on your head constantly, on your ears, is just uncomfortable. It's just a feeling that I personally don't like. I would rather sit on a motorcycle and wear a helmet, even although a helmet's not comfortable. I'd rather do that than be in a plane and have all that noise around me and have that headset on.
And also look at that prop in the front of me, constantly spinning. You kind of see it. I just don't like to see things as I am trying to enjoy the scenery. So you kind of have to be invested, right? If you really love flying, if you really fell in love with it, you kind of are in a constant journey of investing. It's very expensive. It adds up quickly. So just keep that in mind. If your budget is limited, don't go for it, okay? Because you're just going to start and waste a bunch of money and time. So yeah, you got to have time to get through schooling, and you got to have enough money. You got to have the right budget. So budget for 15 grand safely. Some people will spend 20, 30 or more. So I'm saying 15 if you are really committed and you're willing to learn and spend some time learning and being dedicated to this field. So another unpleasant thing about the small little airplanes is that it is hot. It was not pleasant. When you're in that little container with your instructor, it's pretty hot. So you better schedule that flight when it's not 100 degrees outside. Trust me. It was about 80 degrees today, and it was really hot inside that airplane. You can only open up the windows, and then when you're flying, you kind of have to keep them closed, and it gets hot, so beware of that. Tip number 1, schedule at the right time. And ask for a newer plane, and hopefully you get a good instructor who will make it fun for you. And once you get your license, then what? Now you got to rent that plane, pay $200 an hour every time. Are you ready to pay for that? So there you go. Consider your financial ability. So Discovery Flight, it's awesome. You should go on it. It's totally worth it for $110. Just go do it, enjoy it, and then consider all the rest of the things I listed, whether you want this to be your career or not. So first of all, you better be good financially. Second, you better commit some time to actually get through and get licensed. Third, it's kind of an ongoing hobby. So like if you're ready for it, go ahead and do it. Or unless you consider this to be a career, then of course you have to do it. There is no other way around. You got to go through PPL. You have to get a PPL first, and then you move on to your commercial stuff and so on. So you have to go through these steps. If you really enjoy flying and you want to be a pilot, it's just something you're going to have to love and learn how to live with. All right, good luck. Hope this helps. Enjoy.